Can you all hear me okay? Yes, okay.
Or like 30 degrees of wind, because that's the worst.
Okay, sorry, we're starting a couple minutes late. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. And can we take roll? And let me go ahead and just start with the welcome. Welcome, everyone. Today is January 23rd, 2026. We are here for the Colorado Forest Health Council Legislative Committee meeting. I'm Chair Larimer County Commissioner Jody Shine McNally. I welcome you all. We are here today for an hour meeting regarding some of our legislative priorities for 2027. And we let's do roll call. And I'm sure we have quorum, but let's go for it.
Samantha Albert.
Present. Good to see you all.
Good morning, Samantha. Pat Dorsey. Don't see Pat quite yet. Christina Berry.
Morning.
Good morning, Christina. Commissioner Jody Shine McNally.
Morning, present.
Morning, Commissioner Mark Morgan.
Present.
Morning, Mark. Julie Stensel.
Present. Good morning.
Good morning, Julie. Commissioner Veronica Medina. She might be joining us later, and then Allison Lurch.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay, great. So we do have quorum, and I just want to apologize. I think there was a Microsoft Office issue yesterday, and I was having a lot of trouble getting the agenda and minutes to a select few of you. So the agenda and minutes are in the calendar invite if you want to glance at them and haven't had a chance to.
You're muted.
Jody, you're muted.
Thanks. Thanks, Courtney. I know there's a lot of glitches going on around a lot of things, so I appreciate your diligence. So I will now look for my dogs are barking. That's why I have my earphone in. You guys can't hear the dogs, correct?
We cannot.
Awesome. All right, so let's move on, and I would welcome, is there anyone that wants any changes to the January 9th, 2026 minutes from our previous meeting? Then I would welcome a motion and to approve those minutes.
I'd move to approve the minutes.
And then, so Julie Stensel moved and Mr. Morgan seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Great. Those minutes are approved and we'll move on. We're going to have very, very brief update on our Capitol legislative breakfast next week. I want to just commend Courtney and Allison, Christina, James, everyone there's so many people who have been working very hard to get all the details together. And I want to just say thanks for all your work. I'm really excited and looking forward to this. And so, Courtney, would you just like to maybe run down briefly some final details?
Yeah, I'll just let everybody know that we had 2 orientations today, and I'm planning to send out a recording of the orientation as well as the orientation kind of information sheet with talking points to everyone who has expressed interest in attending. Daphne clarified for me that the Capitol doesn't really get too busy until maybe even around 8 or after 8. So if you're traveling from afar, you don't need to worry about getting there right at 6:45 to help us set up. We have a few people who are helping us set up at 6:45. We're going in at 7, but I was told that there might not be very much traffic until closer to 8. So please don't worry or stress about getting there early. And I didn't say that in the first orientation, so I'll put it in the email, but that's for people. And if you're bringing something and you happen to be in town the day before, you can drop it off. We can arrange a pickup so that you don't have to show up with the stickers or the cookies or things like that too early if you don't want to. But if you have any supplies, we would like those first thing in the morning. I'm going to put the orientation doc just back in the chat if people want to glance at it, but I will be sending it out officially today with the recording and some additional updates. So that's all I'll say.
We have the document there. Thank you. Any questions from anyone for Courtney? Okay, great. Well, I look forward to seeing and I think it's gonna be great. So I look forward to all of this and thank you all for your work on this. So now let's move on to there's an update on the status of the grant application for the intern. I was going to turn this over to Courtney or Allison. And this is for one specifically that we had discussed earlier in the year and had given our support of. And so I wanted to let them give us an update today on that.
Yes, I'll go ahead and share that unfortunately we did not get the student group from the Masters of the Environment program. We had applied for them to help us with the creation of a roadmap or a framework for implementation of the 30-year vision. And apparently there was, 60 different projects and maybe 33 student groups. And so it was a really competitive process and we weren't selected. So we're starting some brainstorming about other ways that the council can track and facilitate the implementation of the 30-year vision.
Does anyone have any questions on it?
Similar focuses here.
And I'll share that we're exploring other options and potentially, hopefully we'll be showing up at the February 11th meeting with some options for the council. There's some internal steps we're moving through to kind of vet those.
That's great.
Okay. Sad to do that, but that's a really important update. And I'm sure we've been benefiting for having some interns and things. And it's really moved some work for us that we never thought we would get done in such a short time. So I hope there's maybe some other doors are opening in other ways. So this is good. And to just appreciate you guys looking for those opportunities, and that's wonderful. So thank you for the update. So let's go on to our discussion and deliberation of the draft list of the 2027 legislative priorities. And if you wouldn't mind pulling up that list, Courtney, then we can, does everyone like it when we're working at the screen, or would you like to just look at your one online? I'm just wondering, what is that okay to, I prefer it if we can see it, but if you want to do it on your own, I will go with the wish of the group. Anybody have any preferences?
I always appreciate screen shares.
Yeah, me too.
All right, we're sharing. So I'll just orient the group. I did reorder them. We had we discussed which our priorities were at the last meeting. And so I brought the ones to the top that had a lot of high priorities, like a lot of people were indicating that it was a high priority. And at the bottom of the list, you'll just see maybe low priority or certain items that had no comments about priority. So it's been reordered a little bit.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to get all these screens organized. Thank you. Courtney, did you have anything you wanted, your hands up, what did you want to add?
I just wanted to note another potential idea. Allison and I had a conversation with some of the leaders or the folks that run the forest tracker, and they'd said that they were investigating or like looking into potentially asking for some resources for that. And because the council has supported the forest tracker in many ways, we thought that could potentially be a legislative recommendation. They're not ready to name that as something that they definitely need. And so I think they were going to try to have something either like a yes or a no by the February 6th meeting, and I just wanted to name that there could be that idea coming also in our next meeting.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's put a placeholder for that. And is there anyone opposed to that suggestion? If you are, indicate, I can see all your screens, all your faces now. So if you want to indicate something, use your thumbs down or something. And so by case I don't see your hand raised. The other thing, I wanted to go back, and I know we had talked about Senate Bill 5 and some of the others. And I wanted to kind of just make a note on that. And then I wanted to talk about the navigator. I think we had supported that. I think that also was something that had been coming from the leveraging resources, or maybe from the forest collaboratives, about having this person who could help folks navigate all these grants and things. And those are things that we, like, especially Senate Bill 5, we've had some big wins, and I think they're working. And so I think those fundings or those programs are maybe starting to wind down, and I'm wondering, I would like to put a placeholder to talk about saving those or enforcing. We'd love to see those continue. And so on all of those, so I wanted to put a placeholder on that. And what are your thoughts? Anybody have anything they'd like to say on that, or any objections to that? Christina.
Oh, I'm very supportive, no objections. Just wanted to say, with the rural navigators, the State Forest Service does have folks that work on that program. Janae Malpas is our specialist for that program, and happy to bring Janae in to share about the rural navigators whenever the committee is ready for that. So fully support.
James.
Just wanted to add, I think Christina's got a good point there, but with rural navigators, there is a 3-year spending authority. And so it passed last year. So it might be a little premature to start looking into that one to see how, and if the program is successful, to maybe start thinking about re-upping that one. So I think that one was scheduled through 2027. So just a heads up on that.
Thanks, James. Let's maybe put that in the parking lot, but I do think that maybe something we should look at is, trying to support what we got done, the ground or the progress we made. So James, may I ask, and Mr. Morgan, I see your question on hand, but I want to ask James real quick. Can you remind me of the details? I think Senate Bill 5 is after this year was just 2 years of funding. And I'm wondering
It's
what that looks like. Yeah.
It's interesting. Senate Bill 5 had a lot of funding mechanisms. The one piece of funding that I know is done is the piece that was going towards improving and creating more forestry programs in the Department of Higher Education through community colleges and universities. So that funding had a little bit of a scare, but we were able to make sure that that funding was continued. And so those colleges and universities that got that are able to expend the rest of their dollars. Now, when it comes to the industry internship program, the way that that was actually written was what we call continuous appropriation. And so there is a possibility that should there be funds available, that those internships will get about $100,000 every single year. But that's, again, if funds are available. The first glimpse that we saw for this upcoming fiscal year is that it is included in the DNR header, but figure setting is going to happen a little bit later. So it very well could be pooled as we're looking to close $1 billion budget hole right now. But right now, as it currently stands, there is an opportunity for an additional $100,000 in that internship program.
Thank you. And so by us highlighting to keep that at least part of this, the internship program funded, would that draw attention to it, that it might be something to go, or would it be something that we, by showing our support, it would strengthen that we think this is valuable? I'm just, I mean, strategy wise, just curious.
I think that's a really interesting and really poignant question, because I think the JBC staff are looking everywhere and anywhere. And in the scheme of things, $114,000 will seem like pennies, but I think they're looking for everywhere. And so there is that opportunity that if we highlight it, they'll say, oh, we didn't even think to look there. But there also is that opportunity to be like, huh, we don't want another Marshall fire, you know?
Mhm.
How do we increase the workforce development in these areas? So it's really a 50-50. I think maybe sitting down and talking with Daphne, who has a real good finger on the pulse, might be a better idea.
Cool. How could we, and I'm sorry, I see everyone's hand raised, but since you bring up Daphne, I know she's got, DNR's got 3 big bills and some of them are taking some really big stakeholdering, because I've been in those meetings. So I'm wondering, she probably doesn't have time to come. Is that a question we could ask and have it come back, or talk to you, James or Courtney or Allison, and then bring us back some thoughts, or how should we handle that?
I'd say Allison probably has a beat here.
Yeah, Commissioner, I think we can, I mean, she obviously can't come on right now, but we can gather some questions for her and either get answers before our next meeting or see if she can attend our next legislative committee meeting. So happy to help facilitate that.
I would appreciate that. Thank you. I just think that maybe because we're in such situations, we might need a little more nuance and some strategy thinking as what we're putting on our list and what we're doing. So Mr. Morgan and then Courtney, thank you.
I will probably be tarred and feathered for these comments, but on Senate Bill 5 and what was originally funded there, I personally am less concerned about internships for industry than I am for the funding portion for the junior college and also secondary or high school. There was a portion in there for reach out. I think that's really important going forward. And then I would like to think that what I would like to see is more cooperation between the junior college system within the state to prioritize our needs. I viewed Senate Bill 5 as a funding method to get some things done and get them aware of the problem. I think there needs to be a way where we need to shift resources also that already exist within the state in the junior college system. Every department and every college is in competition with each other for funding and support. And I think some of the programs, I'm going to be rude here, need to be redirected. I think ours is a more important and a better cause. And so I think in tight funding, you have to, I've stated this many times, but economics is a science of distributing limited resources over unlimited wants. And I think our wants are more important. I would like to see if there was a way that we could reprioritize some of what already happens in the junior college and secondary education in this state. Now, I'm not going to be on anybody's Christmas list as for that one.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. I always appreciate your perspectives because I think it brings a lot for food for thought. So please keep commenting. Courtney.
I have 2 questions. I'm trying to track the conversations in brief notes. So when you guys were talking about the internship program, that would be continued funding, or it would be a reappropriation of funding, or can someone say again, James or Jody, what that specifically would be? And then I next have a question about the junior colleges.
Technically, it would just be an additional appropriation. So it would be new money into this new fiscal year.
Thank you. And then can you speak again to what is happening with the funding for community colleges? Like what happened to that? Is there possible for us to do something about this? The one that Mark just named?
That's part of Senate Bill 5. They got money to start and expand the programs. And as I understand that got, maybe that was the one that got clawed back a little bit, but refunded, or reinstated. But part of that, like Jades was saying, there's several different funding streams, and some of that was to expand and to get those programs and reduce the wait list, and the other was for the work. And thanks for reminding me of that, of the continuous appropriations, James. I forgot that piece. Do I have that correct, James? And then Mr. Morgan.
The funding was, part of that funding was to fund the position at the junior colleges and faculty position to teach additional classes. That funding runs out after this year. We had to get an extension to even run into this year because they were late in getting it started. So I think, and my hope and intent was that that would be included. Junior college system came up with some money to support that up here at Front Range. I think they need to shift. There needs to be some internal shifting of their priorities as well. I would hate to see that position and that funding stream be interrupted. We need the instruction. We need the additional classes. We got to get it from somewhere. And I don't know. I think that.
Okay, so it sounds like there's maybe another recommendation for an additional appropriation for the community college part of Senate Bill 5.
And the high school portion of it.
Yes. Okay, great.
That's very important.
So I'm speaking of high school, I'm putting some things in the chat. That's why I'm a little distracted. I had brought up the funding or the program that I found about the workforce. And I said I was going to get some more information. Does everyone, I don't know where that was. Sorry, I'm trying to pull up this up.
It was clear.
So, yeah, I found out, I interviewed the people who set up this program and one of the instructors and the superintendent. And so it was really exciting to learn about this. And what I learned was really interesting, that maybe some knew, and maybe Mr. Morgan, you knew this, but I did ask them for what's the word I'm looking for? How they funded this. And it's actually a program that was funded through the Division of Fire Prevention and Control. And so in the details, the current program is the second one I sent, which was they got the funding. Remember, I kept talking about maybe there was some funding for some of the things for workforce that we hadn't really thought about, but there was some funding in the Career Development Incentive Program that funded this program, which is the current funding stream. And this was something they did through like I said, they're all our training program, but I think they were doing some training at Mr. Morgan's facility. And as I understand, it was it was a program that was asked through the Division of Fire Prevention and Control to put on this class. And it was a weekend class and a couple other days, and then they got the certification, and then they could apply for jobs after they did all those training. And those 36 students completed the 40 hours of training to become a wildland firefighter, but also this was to do mitigation work. And so they interviewed some of the students, and already one of the seniors got a job with the Wildland Fire Department right after he graduated in May. They're not high-paying positions, but obviously really important decisions. And then another one, about 4 others started volunteering and doing other work. And so this class was created through the Colorado Division of Fire Prevention and Control, because they're also trying to reduce this critical need. And so, but also these wildland firefighters, I think, could be used for helping with mitigation work. So it's interesting to see what they're doing. So this year, the first link I shared is the funding source that they are trying to use to fund that this time. And it's through, they're calling it Workforce Readiness Big Three legislation. And so it's something they're trying to do to meet these certain metrics and things as I understand it, and make sure of the outcomes, and that this is fitting some critical needs in the community. And so they're hoping to continue this and fund this and grow this impactful program. So I wanted to share that I learned that this is actually something that maybe we were still learning about, but it's something we could think about when I talk about blending and braided funding. And so I just wanted to share that. So Mr. Morgan, I think that was your hand.
I myself am a little bit confused. For a long time, the junior college program up here used to also work with the Poudre School District and the Big Thompson School District, and high school kids could take classes at the junior college and get credit for them in their junior and senior years. And a lot of those classes were the training that you're talking about as well. A couple, 3 years ago, I've always tried to support that, and we've had many training sessions out here with the junior college, but that reached the high school kids. Recently, the high schools, Poudre School District and Big Thompson, started their own program, and they have reached out to me. I've done some stuff with them. I literally don't know their funding source. We volunteered opportunities for them to bring students out here a couple times, but I'm really not up to speed on that. The junior college still does it all the time. They're out here several times a year, but I'm looking for a way to reach those high school kids. I hope that somebody is, and I think that's a real important piece of it. And I don't know up here what they're doing for a funding source. We have had some contact with them. I can try to find that out.
Well, I had talked to the Poudre School District that is doing that course up where these are the two funding. These are the two funding sources. The second one is the one they used, and the post-secondary workforce, and the next one is the one that's proposed that's being debated or worked on to maybe go forward. And so they're really trying to advocate and try to keep money for this program, because they had such a great interest, and the students were, and these were students that either they got the job or they're moving forward to volunteer and have these resources. And I know they're wildland firefighters, but if they're also learning about wildfire mitigation, it might be another way for us to blend and braid and say, well, maybe they also can be hired or trained how to do mitigation and get out. And we know those crews do that. And so I just wanted to put that there, that we kept talking about blending and braiding and looking where this is happening. So I just wanted to share. I learned that this is something that other schools, districts are trying to now look at. But it's, it's
That's
just
a high priority for me. That's a high priority for me, as long as it gets taken care somewhere in the system. So I don't want it to be I don't want to duplicate what somebody is getting done. How much money are they looking for?
I don't know how much they're looking for. It's in this ColoradoSucceeds.org thing that they're trying to work to get that funded, called the Big Three. And I don't know. I'm going to try to dig into that a little bit more. And Julie, I see your hand is up, but I think that they're trying to reach out students, get them in these programs, and then and have them learn these skills and have these opportunities. Julie.
Yeah, so I'm sorry that I don't know the answer to this. Are the high school classes, the way they're currently configured, a concurrent enrollment with a community college, so the high school students are getting certificate credit at the junior college or college level?
So I worked a long time ago when my kids were middle school. We did have my kids did this, and so as I understood it, unless it's changed, and this is also a budget concern, because usually what happens is some of the tuition or some of that is paid back to the district for the students, but that's starting, as I did see that start to shrink a little bit in the last few years. But they do get, because of the new competency requirements for the high school, because I was on that commissioner task force as well, they can get credit. It's not just sitting in a seat and seat time, but these kinds of classes and experiences can count towards credit for high school, but also if they're taking that junior college, it does count for credit in the junior college system, and it can count for credit in the college system. So for example, I don't know if that's the same today, it'd be something to check, but for instance, like mathematics and other classes, some of the kids are walking in at a junior or sophomore level in college or junior college because they have so many credits they earned in high school. But since, usually public schools, everyone pays taxes, but if they take these classes, some of them are starting to have to pay the fees, the books at the college, junior college level. Those used to be, but they get the tuition somewhat. And so there's just some of those questions that might have changed. So I don't know all those details because it's been 4 years since I had a high schooler, but those were things that existed then. But I do know that was where the system in Colorado Succeeds really wants to give those pathways for students who maybe don't do the traditional 4-year college, but maybe can take this pathway, earn skills, and maybe get some junior college credit. And then it kind of gives them the opportunity to see that they can take that pathway if they want. So I just wanted to share, I'd been really excited to see this on the social media, and then I learned a lot about it, and it was just very interesting to see that it was funding that I didn't know existed through the Division of Prevention and Control. And I kept talking about maybe the workforce development might have some money for us to look at to help support some of our programs. So just a food for thought. So anyway, we could talk about this at length, but maybe we need to get some more details. I have the other instructors and how they got this funding and who they're working with. And I've talked to the superintendent and 2 of them, and I'm still getting some more information. And but they asked us to look at this readiness opportunities. This bill right there would continue some of that funding and also expand some of this. So I just for other areas in Colorado. So I wanted to pull that up, and maybe we need to, I haven't got to read through all of it yet. So I just wanted to bring that up so you can see the current funding model or funding stream, and then one that is before, I guess right now in process of being looked at and going through hearings. So I hope that's helpful. Any other questions? Julie?
No, my hand was still up from before. Sorry about that.
Oh, thank you for that. So Courtney.
Yeah, I just wanted to see, Jody, if you had something for the legislative recommendation square, or if I could write that you would come up with a legislative recommendation, or is this just more informational? Like, are you wanting to?
I'm wanting to see if this is something we could support the continued funding of this workforce development grant or whatever, and to maybe along with the wildfire fighting, put in there for also careers and jobs for workforce or wildfire mitigation. As we know, several counties have gotten tax money and they're hiring lots of people and take them away from other counties. They took 2 from mine, and those are good paying jobs as well. And if those students are out in the workforce and learn all these things, there are those jobs that are growing here. And so I think this is something that maybe we can support, and maybe just expand to making sure they're also being trained in wildfire mitigation and be available for the mitigation pre-fire work. So that would be my recommendation. Does that help?
Yeah, that's helpful.
And I'm going to dive into that a little bit more and have some more conversations with those folks. We're able to have 2 different 20-minute calls. That's how busy we've all been. So anyway, so thank you for that. I just wanted to follow up that I have been having some conversations and and I was very excited to hear of its origins and its connections. So let's go back up to the top of the list. And all right, so we got the placeholder, and then we talk about biomass. So Christina, there's a note there you were going to check Do you have any things you'd like to add?
Sure. Yeah, let me pull up the recommendations. So we checked in with our biomass experts, Tim Reeder and Steve Rudolph. So a couple of what they considered kind of like easy wins would be extending the beetle kill sales tax exemption, expanding it to other bark beetles, including the emerald ash borer. So that would be one. The second one is regulations around biochar production with flame cap kilns. It's a little bit out of my area of expertise. I'm not quite sure about the flame cap kilns, but that so producing biochar in a flame cap kiln is classified like incinerating construction material, which makes it prohibitively costly compared to piling and burning slash. Flame cap kilns are small and aren't likely to account for slash treatment at scale, but it seems like this could be a common sense fix that would lower the barrier for someone introducing biochar from forest residues. So those are two recommendations from our folks. And I know Courtney and Allie were on the emails for this. So I don't know, Courtney, if you just want to like copy and paste that into your document.
Yes.
Okay.
That would be better. Probably I will do that.
If there are any questions, I'm happy to take any questions, but I might have to consult with our experts.
Mr. Morgan, and then I have a question.
Yes, for Christina, on the biochar, if we're going to investigate that, we need to look at the economic side of it and what is the ultimate use of the biochar. Because what's happened in the past, biochar is produced as a high value, low volume product. And then if we're going to really get a high volume application, it has to be, we have to lower the cost. Literally, there was a power of two we're missing. We're dealing with $1 a pound material as it's currently being marketed, which there is no application for scale that way. And the application for scale is in the agricultural industry. And then we're talking $80, $90 a ton applied on a field. And so I guess I keep getting confused in there. We need a solution of scale. So it's got to be at a price that could be done. And my research, and I worked on this a fair amount, shows that it has limited utilization or successful utilization for application for scale on fields. And the university, I believe it's Nebraska, has done some extensive 3, 4, and 5-year studies on that. And the value of it tapers off. So somebody with more time, more smarts than me, has to come up with that information. Is there a market at scale, or are we going to go around making little bitty dabs of it, which is not going to affect where we're trying to get?
So great question. Yeah, great question. And I know we did kind of looked at that in our woody biomass study. So I can also ask the folks that did that work and our solid waste director who's looking into that quite extensively right now. So that's a question I can try to bring back. And it'd be one point of reference, but I don't know if there's any others. But I do think that might be something in a world of shrinking resources and not a lot of money. This might be something to, just like the air curtain burners faced a lot of regulatory things that reduced their ability to be out there. I figure any little thing that can help others in other areas with resources, this might be at least another tool in the toolbox. So it might be something to consider. Pat.
Yeah, and I'm going to blame Mr. Morgan for sending me down a rabbit trail, but I think the question of scale is going to be huge. And if we could be somewhat proactive with what we're looking at for mountain pine beetle, we are going to need some large scale solutions to get rid of this material. And I think anything we can do, even if it's just to make people aware of the issue that we need some at-scale solutions for biomass on the Front Range, it would be huge.
Thank you. And yeah, I agree. And we've had the placeholder for the pine beetle solution. I know some of those things were not this week with JBC. Those were some hard conversations. So I wanted to ask Courtney, Allison, James, or whoever. I had asked this question before. That task force doesn't come out with recommendations, or they're forming right now, and the recommendations may not be out till June. Do we just keep a placeholder there and join in, or do we suggest questions or solutions? I'm wondering how we don't duplicate efforts, or how we join in and expand or empower those recommendations. Because I do, we had a big work session with the state forester this week, an hour session, just trying to, it was televised, and now it's on the website so people can go watch it. I wrote a column. We had a wildfire town hall in Estes 2 nights ago that I hosted, and we showed the movie, and they came up, and we had over 125 people who were just on fire now, and they're trying to they're going to, call their legislators and talk to this and do that. And so I'm wondering, how do we help? How do we join? How do we support? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Thanks, Commissioner. I see you're on mute, but I believe you're calling on me. The timing's a little bit awkward here, because the task force appointments are being made right now, due February 1st. Then the co-chairs are creating preliminary organizational structure and work plan by March. And the task force as a whole, their first line of business and deadline is to create their work plan by June. So in a lot of ways, Commissioner and everyone on this committee, I don't believe the task force is going to be providing recommendations by June. I believe that's going to be really just, putting the roots down for what this task force is going to be. I feel like I just don't have if we, this task force is going to be working in tandem with the Colorado Fire Commission and the Forest Health Council. And that's how it's written in the executive order. And that's also how we're talking about it in these preliminary meetings with directors. So I'm really sorry, Commissioner. I feel like it's not that it's cart before the horse, but at the same time, I can't think of a legislative recommendation that this committee could create that complements the task force, because it's not started yet.
Yeah.
So, what it makes me think about really is and I'm so sorry, I think I'm going to repeat myself from last time, is when I'm so glad you raised your hand, Mark, because I was thinking about our discussion. It's that we need to continue to ensure our recommendations, or at least one of them, outlines, the need for, cross-boundary collaboration, shared stewardship, or that these types of things are just embedded in our recommendations. Knowing that the mountain pine beetle outbreak is not going to be done overnight, right? And so we just need to ensure that our recommendations and our goals are long-term and forest-wide, right? So I'm so sorry, I don't have a good answer for that, Commissioner.
You don't need to be sorry. I just wanted to make sure that, and I knew the executive order had us working in tandem. And I don't want to get ahead of them, but also I feel like we have to, I agree with you. I almost can hear the speech in my head about shared stewardship, and that this is, the long haul, and that we have a lot in front of us, and this is not going to be a one-time fix. We've got a lot of work to do, just like the mitigation work. I think Director McCombs had said at the town hall I had that you know, we have, just to address the 10 to 15% of the imperiled watersheds, it's going to be 200 million a year for the next 30 years. And you should have heard the gasps in the room. And so, and that's just the wildfire mitigation, but that also is dealing with, you know, those are the pine beetle trees that need to be moved. And I agree though, Mr. Morgan, I see your hand up. I do wonder if there's a legislative policy to ask because I do think this happened this week, that there has to be some funding to support you know, this task force. I don't know if they have funding. And so that's another thing I wanted to add is the kind of this legislative ask for the Forest Health Council. And I think I asked about this before in years past, and I wanted to insert that along with the funding for that. Do we need funding to help educate for the task force to educate the public about, because you see this out in the public that, oh, this has been happening. They're so silly. This is, you know, now they're talking about it. It's too late. And this is a new outbreak. We're trying to educate people. Right. And so, but also the Forest Health Council has no funding, as you know, and we have this 30-year implementation and like this legislative breakfast. Is there a way to ask for funding? Just because we are also, if we're working in tandem, part of that would be us out educating folks on the 30-year plan, and we could add the pine beetle to help, you know, with the right messaging. So I guess my thing would be, I think we have talked about this, and I know in the past you all have all said, oh, it's in, you know, they said, put this in for, you know, we've got it, but I'm really wondering if we need to ask for funding. I know they're saying no funding, but I think even a small amount would be really helpful right now. And I just wanted to know, and Mr. Morgan, I see your hand. I just wanted to first what do you all think about asking for funding, since we need to do this outreach on a lot of things? Any comments? Well, first we'll go to Mr. Morgan, and then I don't know whose hand's up. Nina. Go ahead, Mr. Morgan.
I think the task force they've assembled is a pretty high horsepower operation. And I think what Allison is saying here is that this thing needs to cook a little bit first. And one thing as a group that we need to do is not be an impediment. It's Hippocratic oath here, first do no harm. And so we don't want to be an impediment. We don't want to provide an additional workload for what we're doing when they're trying to get something going here. So I guess my feeling is that it's also very common in situations like this. It's very difficult for agencies. They do it, but it's tough for them. They advocate for funding and money for their departments and whatever. Sometimes that's our job. When we see, if we believe in what they're doing, if the cause is good, then that's kind of our position, where we have to step up and say, this is what needs done, and we're going to have to, this is serious, and we're going to have to put some money behind it. And I don't think that's unreasonable. I don't consider that a lobbyist for the program or whatever. That's our group. That's what we make recommendations. The recommendations is, this is what it takes. I guess I would suggest, I don't want to do nothing, but let's give it a little time and see what the task force comes up with and see what their needs are. And maybe how we could.
Are you saying you're against even maybe some funding or some support for the Forest Health Council as we try to educate the 30-year vision, and also our part on helping understand and expand on the beetle kill outbreak?
I am ambivalent about it. I think that either way, I would support the group if you feel it's necessary. I want to be a team player. I don't think this is something where we're going to put a lot of money. I think maybe what we have to bring is our personal commitment to doing what needs done, contribute to educational opportunities, provide some opportunities that way. I'm reluctant to comment on how much good money is going to do and how much money it's going to take to do that good. I'm not negative or positive. Is that their answer?
Yep, that's great. Commissioner Waters.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry for not being on camera. I'm driving, so figure you don't need to see me doing that. Anyways, regarding your question about funding, I think that if there is a fully baked idea, I am in support of putting forth a funding request. I think that I'm not necessarily as plugged into the politics as other commissioners, but I do feel like there is no harm in introducing a concept that has a funding attachment to it if we believe that that is something that is necessary. The worst that can happen is that it doesn't go anywhere and we bring it back again. That's the way I look at it. There's no downside to asking for it, but I feel like it's necessary to have a fully baked idea. As far as like outreach and education, I think it's not, there's got to be something happening out there that can show our communities, especially in the Front Range, that are going to be impacted pretty terribly. And I feel like right now it's a little too early. They're not going to start to see the effects of the pine beetle for another few years. But, there are living examples here in my community in Summit County that have experienced the pine beetle outbreak that we could show folks what the impacts are to their forest. And I think that's something, and that does take support. Maybe that means like if we can do it on a shoestring, I'm happy to try to support that personally because this is a passion of mine. But I also feel that I'm not comfortable with like bringing forth an idea that's half baked. So I feel like if we're going to go down that route to ask for funding, we have to kind of really think about what that is and what we're showing people and how that education is being shared. And that's probably already happening in some ways. So maybe that's supporting those organizations in whatever way we can. My thoughts.
Thanks, Commissioner Waters. I do think there is the Forest Health Council 30-year vision is something that does need funding. So that is something that have been talked about, that we have zero money for even printing things or doing things. So I do think that having some to even print or even the posters we talked about were, $10 a piece or something. So I think that to help get that forest vision out there and also supplement the beetle kill is my understanding that Jefferson County is actually, it's exploding. And the maps I see from the U.S. Forest Service and from the Colorado State Forest is that next year we will see massive impacts up and down the Front Range. And so I don't know if we've got, I think it's going to be pretty immediate and we had a work session on with Director McCombs and Dr. West on Wednesday. So I guess maybe I thought from what they told me, it was going to be like, we'll start seeing effects for now and next year, and it's going to really grow in size very exponentially, but maybe I misunderstood that. I don't know. So we're almost out of time. Commissioner Waters.
Sorry, my hand was still up. Apologies.
Courtney, your hands
I'll
up.
just say, I mentioned it at the beginning of the meeting when we were talking about not getting the student group, but I'll say it again that we've put together a list of options for funding for the 30-year vision or different ways. And like some of them require, it's almost like full-time staff or a consultant. And some of them are, very low cost student group. And there's quite a few things in between. So I will do my best to see if we can have that ready for you all on the 6th. Some DNR folks need to look at it first, but I think it would also rope into this bigger discussion of funding for the council. And I think it could encompass that, like how can the council be well resourced to do more work, and how can the 30-year vision be implemented? So
I think that would be great to have that on there, because I think we are going to need be resourced to be able to work alongside the task force and others. And so I think it is important. And I thank you for reminding us that we did have it, reminding that you did have some ideas for that. Okay, let's move on, because I think we have just enough time. Julie, do you feel like there's enough time for you to share about the utility piece real quick?
what are the range differences between
I'm sorry, I'm looking on the screen for where the
what are the differences
where we are for the utility fees.
amongst our providers in our schools? There is a whole lot of understanding. Why
Can you hear me?
insurance
It was about the license and permitting references.
Yes, I don't have, our team is pulling those for me, but just a high level to help people understand what we're saying there is, you know, one area where there is opportunity, I think, to either remove roadblocks and get some streamlining in is if a license or a permit that is being issued by any forest requires a lot of pre-work before you can get in and address what might be an emerging or an emergent situation. Even in those instances, sometimes the answer can be yes, but you need to go do 6 months worth of study, or you need to check a potential impact before you can get in and remove this hazard, whether it's a tree that, you know, now may be outside the right of way and falling in. I think there are ways to look at the mechanics of those requirements and take away some barriers to provide what seems, I think, at least to me, to be more intuitive, true emergency access, and how we define that. That's the kind of data that we're trying to pull together to inform, you know, what could we do, what recommendation could we bring forward. It's perhaps less a legislative, it may not be rooted in the need for a bill so much as a recommendation on how other state agencies handle a very defined issue.
Okay, that's great. And I just wanted to say, Christina, and maybe we can, we'll start with those first next meeting, and we're going to go an hour and a half. And Christina thinks James had also talked about that she's on a utility subcommittee that would be with the fire commission, and that might be great to help with coordination and see if they, maybe we can ask Christina if she could maybe pull some ideas into that spreadsheet on this, or not spreadsheet, this document for next week or next time. And then Ms. Ring, I see your hands raised. I know this Leveraging Resources Committee was talking about some suggestions, so it'd be great to put a little space in there in case they have recommendations they want to bring for some ideas that they had with their work that they wanted to recommend. So I just wanted to kind of put a placeholder for discussing their idea. That I know they're meeting where I'm on that committee. I think, and I know a few of us are, that they're discussing that next meeting. And so I want to make a placeholder for any ideas that they had. So Mr. Morgan, and we're almost out of time.
Yes. In answer to Julie's question, sometimes the holdups, a lot of it is in pre-documentation, your NEPA work being done. You might pursue a categorical exclusion for emergencies and get the NEPA work done in advance, like on a forest-wide basis. If it meets these conditions, then you could address it, and that could be those exist already, and you need to bring your industry to the forefront with a solid proposal so that that can be done in advance. When this pops up, then you can immediately address it. And those are done. There are categorical exclusions. There are a lot of ways to go about this, but getting your NEPA work done in advance on a forest-wide basis, I would approach them in that manner.
Yeah, we get into resource timing and funding and all the issues there also.
Yeah.
So I hear you and appreciate that.
But
Okay, we're out of time, and I want to be careful. There's some great ideas, some great discussion. We have some ideas and wrangling, but I really hope that we can fine tune some recommendations. And again, they're not carved in granite, but we certainly have some things to consider. And then I know we're all still looking at the big funding wall, shrinking wall, and what that is how we're trying to figure out how to get past that. But thank you all. This is really hard discussions as we're trying to wrangle. There's so many needs and so much that needs to be done, and we're trying to figure out how we tackle this big elephant, but not just big bites, but big lots of little bites. But I do like the suggestion that we have to also think long-term versus short-term. And I hope you all will have a great weekend, stay warm, and I appreciate everyone's input and thoughts. It's just amazing to have this great group of people with different perspectives. I think it's really valuable, and I wish you all a great weekend, but let's have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Anybody opposed? All right, we'll see you in a few days at the Capitol. So thank you, and have
Have a great weekend.
We're adjourned.
Do your snow dances for us in the mountains. We need
Yeah.
it.
I heard, yeah, tomorrow.